The Energy and Environment Committee. I'm Councilwoman Jan Perry. I'm here with Councilmember Tony Cardenas, and it's about 10 after 9. Mr. CLA, would you let us know if we have any consent items?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Rafael Brady with the CLA's office. I'd like to recommend items number 1 and 2 for consent.
All right.
So moved.
All right, that'll be the order. All right, well then let's start with number 3.
Item number 3 is a Public Works report requesting authority to enter an agreement with USA Waste for processing of recyclable materials.
All right, can we get a staff report on that?
It's Emilio Rodriguez, CEO's office.
Okay.
The Public Works Board, on behalf of Sanitation Bureau, requests authority to execute an agreement for multifamily residential recycling services with USA Waste of California to service the harbor waste shed area and act as a backup contractor for the city's remaining 5 west sheds. This pursuant to a 2006 request for proposals. The multifamily residence recycling program is expected to serve about 541,000 units and collect approximately 115,000 tons of recyclable materials annually through a source separation process.
Okay.
The program will be supported by revenues from the hauler fees that are deposited into the Citywide Recycling Trust Fund. The proposed agreements would require contractors to provide recycling services that include provision of variable size blue bins for source separated collection of recyclables, collection at least once a week, distribution of approved educational materials, and delivery of source-separated recyclables to a permitted materials recovery facility.
And let me ask you a quick question. This $10 million that would be put into the recycling trust fund, how long would you expect that to last?
These are 5-year contracts.
Is that sufficient funding just for 5 years?
I believe so.
Yes, Neil Guglielmo with the Bureau of Sanitation. The estimated annual cost for the contract would be about $1.4 million a year. When you look at the $10 million ceiling, it's because we want to have USA Waste serve as a backup contractor in the event that any other contractors serving other waste sheds in the city were to somehow default or be unable to perform the recycling services. So it basically gives us flexibility and coverage in case we basically don't want to see any residents who are recycling using our Blue Bin program to have any kind of interruption in services.
Okay.
So.
We've been joined by Mr. Alarcon. My other colleagues have any questions on this item? Mr. Cardenas does.
There's been 3 years of collection, correct?
Correct. We had a pilot program first for multifamily recycling.
Okay. What were the estimates or goals on those 3 years' worth of collections before the program started?
Before the citywide program started with the new contracts, we had a pilot program with several contractors testing out different methods of collection for recyclables. That included the source-separated blue bin type program, a blue bag approach, and as well as what's called dirty murphing, where all the trash and recyclables go into a single container. So we looked at all 3 different methods of collection throughout the city's waste sheds. What we learned from that process was that the most effective and efficient method of collection was the single-stream blue bin type program like we have for our single-family residential customers. The added benefit also that all of our educational and outreach materials, which focus on the blue bin program, would be for single-family residents as well as all multifamily residents. So there's a lot gained by having a single type of recycling program to serve the city. Aside from that goal of piloting out the different types of methods of collection, it was to see what the cost would be for an ongoing citywide program. We have 750,000 residential customers that we service in the Bureau of Sanitation every day with our blue, black, and green bin. However, with the multifamilies that have been served by the private waste haulers, most, not all, but most do not have an opportunity to recycle. And we've provided that through this program. So we wanted to make sure that the program would be easy to use, that it would mirror the existing program we have for our single-family customers, and that the contamination rates would be low and that the actual participation would be high. And so those were our overarching goals. We found that the contamination has been very low, which is good. The participation has been very good. As a matter of fact, even with our extensive outreach efforts, a lot of the business we get in terms of residents are calling in, emailing us, and so there has been a great deal of participation, and right now we're over 171,000 units participating in this program. So in the short span of time, the pilot program capped off at 70,000 units. So in the last 6 months, we've expanded by 100,000 units. So we think it's a pretty good measure of success so far, but still a long way to go.
Okay, but you gave me a lot of information about what makes a good program and the fact that it's expanded over 100,000 units since the initial 70,000, et cetera. But what benchmarks did we set for ourselves, and are we reaching those benchmarks?
Yes, the benchmarks were, one, we looked at participation by the units, how many units we'd have involved in the program. We reached the cap of 70,000 in a 3-year pilot, so we knew we can get participation and gain residents into the program. One of the challenges we saw was the fact that when you're dealing with multifamily buildings, where do you site and locate the containers in the buildings? How do you get the agreement, the participation of the owner or the site manager? We have to have that in order to have this program because it's a voluntary program. And we had found through the pilot program, and now as we have the citywide program, we have not had a significant challenge. Because it's a voluntary program, we will never see 100% participation. There's never going to be 100% participation. That's at least my assumption, if it's a voluntary program. However, when you're expanding 10 to 12 to 15,000 units per month, then we're seeing a very good participation rate. And I don't see the process slowing down for the program. We have done print media as well advertising for the program, and as we hit, I think it's about 15 local newspapers in different languages, I think we'll see even greater interest in the program, greater participation from that. But one of the challenges we saw was where we look at the containers. You have a lot of old multifamily buildings. Where do you place these containers? They may have room for a trash dumpster, but how do you site a recycling dumpster, recycling containers? The solution has been using primarily the 60, 90-gallon blue bins that we have for our residential customers. That allows the building owner or site manager to move those around in the complex, and it's not as difficult to move around, obviously, as a dumpster. Where we have the space, then if we have a large number of units and high participation, we can look at a 3, 4, 5, or 6 cubic yard recycling dumpster, blue dumpster, as well. But so where do you place your recycling containers? Getting the building owner and manager's agreement and participation in the program, doing the outreach to the residents, making sure they participate and they understand how the program works, and then the turnover. When you look at multifamily units, we have a very transitory population, and so it's not just an initial outreach education, it has to be sustained over time. That does increase our costs, but it adds a lot of value. As people move in the city, hopefully, and stay within the city of Los Angeles, they can take those same recycling practices with them when they go to a different unit or if they buy their own home or something else. But that has been their issue, has been that ongoing education. And then the contamination rates, which are equal to or less than what we've seen from our single-family residents. So another issue can be what will be recycled. Depending upon where you are in the city, you may see buildings where we'll have a lot of CRV in the recycling stream, which is the bottles and cans, the California redemption value. And there are locations in the city, we'll see a lot less of that because the demographics, people might be recycling that stuff themselves, which is fine. So it's very interesting to see how the dynamic shifts when you go from one location to another location with the city, or even just from one building to the next building. Again, if you have the buy-in from the building manager and owner, it makes a huge difference for the convenience for the residents and then ultimately for us to successfully collect from that building.
Now, based on the number of units that we're serving, have we estimated what percentage we're being successful with as far as per ton of the way humans live in the city and how much waste they put out and all that stuff?
Yes, with the 171,000 units we have right now participating, we look at a ratio. So if a building has, say, 8 units, do they warrant one 90-gallon container, 2, 3, 4. And so when you look at that ratio of recyclables, say to the ratio of trash that's being generated, they have a 6 cubic yard container, 2 6 cubic yard containers. What we have seen is the trend has been to request more containers. We have not seen the reverse, where we've gone in with the initial number of containers and they've requested less. So we've seen their containers increasing in numbers within existing units. And then what we do with our contractors is we actually go out and do site visits with them to see, okay, the streams are being collected, are the cans full, are they not full? And we have seen that the trend has been improving since the program started. So even with the pilot program, as successful as that was, as we've gone to the city-wide program, we're seeing more and more recyclables. And what I get now reports on a weekly basis from our contractors that the business owners or the site managers are able to decrease the number of trash containers or reduce it in size, maybe from a 6 cubic yard container to a 4 or 5 cubic yard container. So the building owners and managers are very happy because now their trash bill can actually go down as the participation increases on the recycling side, which we knew all along, but sometimes you have to actually be there and they have to actually see it happen. So we have not had the reverse is true. We have not seen them come back and ask for more trash containers or reduce the number of recycling containers.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
rather than go off of feeling like we're successful, what I'd like the department to do is to go ahead and do an analysis on the per ton, per unit, per year that we're collecting from them in recyclables.
You want them to come back and make a report on that?
Yeah.
Well, how long do you want?
Well, I usually let the department tell me how long they need, and if I think it's too long, then I'll ask them for it quicker.
What do you
Hold on a
think?
second.
Okay.
On that, and also report back on where they can get information or compare the Los Angeles success or lack thereof compared to other large communities that have embarked on a similar mission, to compare what is true data as far as success or what are some norms out there that could assist us in understanding whether or not we are being as successful as possible, and also try to figure out how we're trending toward either meeting or exceeding realistic goals regarding this kind of voluntary effort.
Okay.
How long do you need?
30 days.
30 days?
Reasonable.
Great. All right, then we'll have that come back in 30 days.
So are you approving the contract and then just having them report back?
Perfect. I don't have a problem with the contract.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
go ahead and send the contract forward, and then his
Have-
verbal motion will,
Certainly.
okay, great.
That would be March 18th. Have them on that agenda.
Yeah,
Okay.
great.
All right. Perfect.
All right, item number 4 is our next item.
Thank you.
Item number 4 is a DWP report requesting authority to enter into software maintenance agreement with Bentley Systems. We have staff from CAO and DWP.
You, did you?
While they're coming up here, I'm looking ahead at the notes on 5. Looks like 5 is a continuance. They're not ready.
Well, we simply recommended that because DWP hasn't finalized their report.
Okay, yeah.
But I believe we do have personnel department here to provide a presentation.
All right, we'll
on it.
find out what's going on. Okay, great. Number 4.
Number 4?
Yeah.
All right. Hi, I'm Robert Roth from the CAO's office. The CAO report before you recommends approval of DWP request for authorization to execute agreement number 47722-8 with Bentley Systems for microstation software license, maintenance, training, and both proprietary and non-proprietary services. The term of the agreement includes 3 years with 4 one-year renewable options to be approved by the DWP board, with the cost not to exceed $3.1 million. In support of DWP power system design and drafting personnel, the agreement would continue ongoing microstation professional services in addition to new training services to enable DWP staff to support the system in the future. Representatives from DWP are here if you have any questions.
I don't have any questions. We're also joined by Mr. Garcetti and Ms. Gruhl, so we have almost a full complement. Anybody have questions on this item?
I had a meeting this morning.
All right, does anybody want to move to approve this?
I
then?
would move to approve it.
All right, great. Without objection. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now in my notes, it says continue the matter for 30 days. Who's here from DWP on this item? Hello? Is anyone out there? Anybody here from DWP on item 5? Okay. This is funny. Okay. So you, according to my briefing notes, you need to continue this for 30 days. Is that correct?
Well, Madam Chair, that's our recommendation, simply because we don't have DWP's formal report, but there is a report on the file by Personnel Department, and if you like, they could proceed with their report.
It's kind of, I don't know about the rest.
It's
kind of like out of context if we don't have the complete package here. And I appreciate, you're from Personnel?
I'm from the Department of Water and Power. My
Okay,
name is
then-
Michelle Nagan.
Personnel Department.
Okay, and then so what's the holdup with DWP?
The department submitted its water and electric rate increase report to the board, and the board is forwarding that report to the full council for consideration. And embedded within that report is our report on our hiring
That's
efforts.
one of the things, yeah. No, I remember when we had those discussions, that was one of the...
Yeah, oh, no, yeah, it's a major part of
We should be able
it.
to pull that out if you want.
Yeah, why can you just yank that out and then come to the next meeting?
Yes.
This is a specific issue related to being able to move forward and implement the installation of transformers and things like that, and it seemed to be a major sticking point. So I'd like to take that out of the report. And then when's our next meeting?
March 4th.
Okay, why don't we have you pull that part out,
Big day.
and then you be ready to come and combine the two, and let's focus on that issue specifically in our next meeting.
We'll be ready.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. All right. I don't have any speaker cards for public comment. This is the time to come forward and comment on things that are not on the agenda, seeing that no one is coming forward. The meeting is adjourned. All right, amazing.
Getting sleep?